What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 5 reasons that you just might not want to live on the water here in South Florida. And number one, I can promise you that no one really thinks about, and it definitely ruins their experience. Now, don't get me wrong, living on the water here in South Florida is by far the dream. Think about it. You can wake up, you go out, enjoy the water, the sea breeze, enjoy the sunrise, or you can go hop on the boat and go out for the day. So it's definitely a lot of fun, and it is pretty much the epitome of South Florida living. But like everything else, it does come with some drawbacks, and these are just some things to be aware of, especially if you want to live on the water and that's your ultimate goal. So now let's jump right into it. At number 5, we have the taxes. So let's think about it. Property taxes everywhere in Florida are starting to creep up, and they're starting to get a little bit more expensive. And part of the reason for the property taxes being so high for that of homes on the water is they're obviously a lot more expensive homes. And people might think well, the property taxes right now are kind of low. I'm looking at it. Well, yes, the property taxes might be low. However, that might be because this home has already been homesteaded, and the people who bought it actually bought it quite a while ago when they bought it for maybe $200,000-$300,000. Now they're turning around and selling that house for $3 million. So once that house sells, it will be reassessed and your property taxes will go up. Yes, you can kind of limit the amount that it goes up by using some portability with your homestead, but in general, your property taxes will go up because this property will now be reassessed. So it is something to keep in mind when you are looking at homes on the water. Obviously, it's going to happen no matter where you buy, your property taxes are going to increase. At number 4, we have an issue that we're pretty much facing everywhere throughout the state of Florida, and that's the home insurance crisis and the cost of home insurance. So I do have a video, I'll link it up above, about what's going on here in Florida with home insurance, but these homes on the water definitely have a much higher cost of home insurance than those of homes that are a little bit more west. Number 1, you're right there on the water, so you have to be aware of that. You're going to have flood insurance more than likely because you are right near the water. God forbid it floods or we have a surge from a hurricane, the house is going to get water in it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or ways around it, unfortunately. Plus, it's better to be a little bit more safe and secure than just have no insurance whatsoever. On top of that, some of these homes on the water are a little bit older, so they might need new roofs, they might need new windows, so they might need things in order to bring them up to today's standards to have a little bit lower insurance premium. Yes, if you buy it cash, you don't have to have homeowners insurance, but it might be a better bet for you, especially because you never know what could happen with a hurricane and being that close to the ocean and being there on the water. But with all that being said, there are a lot of homes that are updated, so you do get a break on some of the insurance premiums as well. So just like anything else, you just have to be aware of it and kind of know exactly what you're getting into when you're buying a house here on the water. At number 3, we have the seawall and the dock replacement. So obviously that seawall is constantly getting water just rushing up against it, hitting it, whether it's from the wake of boats when you're out on the intercoastal, or even if you're back on a canal, the water is still moving and it's still beating against that seawall. So it's a great idea to always get your seawall checked. We like to say probably every 2 years, just get it re-inspected because you don't want it to all of a sudden crack. Now you got a bigger problem than if you just were staying on top of it from the beginning. So stay on top of the seawall. Then with the docks have to be replaced. Think about it. They're constantly getting beat up by the sun, the salt air, and the salt water. So they slowly erode and wear away at these docks. You have to stay on top of it with your maintenance as well. Not to mention if you have a boat lift. I mean, think about it. The boat lift is going in and out of the water, so it's definitely getting the salt water on it a lot more than the dock. So that's another thing that can go. So just like anything else with owning a home, you have to stay on top of your maintenance and just stay on top of everything. This way, nothing becomes all of a sudden a major problem or a major expense. At number 2, we have the king tide. So if you're wondering, Joe, what in the world is a king tide? So a king tide is due to the close proximity of the moon during certain times of the year, which causes higher than normal tides, which we call king tides. This in return does flood a lot of low-lying areas, and one of the areas that we see this happen the most in is Fort Lauderdale. So there are certain times of the year that they know we're going to have king tides, and I'll show it to you guys on the screen right now. So some of the predicted king tide times for 2023, we have August 29th to September 3rd, September 26th, October 3rd, October 15th to 17th, and so on, as you guys can see. So it's just kind of an idea. Not saying that these are necessarily going to happen during these times, but these are just some predictions and ways to be aware of it. So how does this pertain to my house on the water though, Joe? So during that king tide, if the water in the tide rises, normally during high tide, you're literally like water levels right below the docks. During king tide, the water will be up above your dock, and depending on how your home is sitting with that seawall on the dock, it could be over the seawall and almost into your pool. So that's just something to keep in mind. A lot of these homes are raised above the docks, which is really nice. And that's a newer thing that they have been doing with a lot of homes on the water, just to kind of curtail some of the flooding and the king tides. Plus, you don't want any of that nasty water in your pool and stuff, because then you got to drain it and all that. So it does become a nightmare. But just something to be aware of and have a plan for it when you are looking to buy a home here on the water. And at number one, the one thing that everyone seems to completely overlook when buying a house on the water is the privacy. So let's think about it. If you can see into your neighbor's backyard, they can see into your backyard. So that means also, if you can see into your neighbor's kitchen, they can most likely see into your kitchen. So don't be getting freaky in the kitchen or anywhere else in the house if you can see in it and you think your neighbors can see in it, because that definitely happens. A lot of people do have like the tinted window stuff on all the glass windows and the sliding glass doors in the back of their house. But you gotta think about it. At nighttime, it's dark out, and if you have your lights on inside, you can still see a little bit of it. So that's just something to be aware of. Yes, there's homes on the intercoastal where they're not looking at any other house, but there's a ton of boats going by. So they're seeing everything going on in your backyard. And if you don't have tinted windows or you don't have the blinds closed, they can most likely see right into your house as well. And it's not as creepy as I'm making it seem, but it's just something that a lot of people will go out there and they start falling in love with the house, and then they realize that, like, hey, I can see completely into my neighbor's bedroom, or I can see, like, they can see completely into my house. So it's just something to be aware of and kind of have a plan for it. Some people have hedges. Like I said, some people have the tinted windows. Some people have the plantation shutters and close those. So it's just something that you have to have a plan for in order to gain your privacy while also being able to enjoy living on the water at the same time. So those are the 5 things that you'll absolutely hate living on the water. Like I said before, obviously nothing bad, all things you can overcome. You just need to be aware of it. So let us know in the comments down below, what is the worst thing about living on the water? And if you're looking to buy or sell anywhere here in South Florida or Florida in general, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can email me, joe@theverogroup.com, or you can call or text me. But until next video.